regardless of what yogic concept you're looking at, you can always come back to the foundation of yoga, which is non-harm. And that compassion, that grace, what you extend to others, are you extending that to yourself?
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let Me Interrupt a Woman's Perspective in Today's Workplace. Coming to you with a great episode today. We're super excited to be here with you all.
We have Jalisa Monroe, who is a wellness advocate, yoga teacher, Reiki practitioner, and optimum life breathologist. She works at Georgetown University as an instructional designer and at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County as a lecturer for a 3 credit course she designed called Yoga in the West. She also supports the 40, 200, and 300-hour yoga teacher training programs at a yoga studio in Prince George's County, where she coaches upcoming yoga teachers. We just want to give you a warm welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Cindy. And thank you, Melissa. It's such a pleasure to be here with you both.
Jalisa, I want to kick us off by saying this is a great time in the year to be discussing your area of interest and focus. Most people acquire a New Year's resolution heading into the new year. Most people often have numerous ones that they're resurrecting throughout the year, like me. But I'm really excited to talk about all things yoga.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to break the ice a little bit, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and really how you stumbled across yoga? Where did it all begin?
Absolutely. So I've always been around yoga without realizing it. I've always had an interest in it, and I took a college course myself when I was attending Montgomery Community College. Around 2017 is when I really started to have an interest in moving forward with yoga and learning how I can make it more consistent in my life. And so I was going through a lot at that time. I was completing my master's program. I was in a challenging home environment and work environment. I decided that I was going to wait until I finished my master's program. And in 2018 is really when yoga kicked off. So I took my first yoga teacher training, and it was the first time I took a class at that studio. It's the same studio that I currently coach at, which is Spiritual Essence Yoga Studio in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And it just felt right to be there at that time. And ever since that day, when I completed my 40-hour yoga teacher training, I've just learned how I can continue to live and practice yoga on a day-to-day basis, not just in a yoga studio.
It just felt right. I love that phrase. And this might be challenging, but what does that mean to you? Like, what did it mean to you for it to just feel right and come across that in that moment?
You know, when you have that feeling, it's kind of like a feeling in your stomach, and you're like, something seems right here. Like I should move towards this direction because it feels right. It feels like this is a direction I should move in. And so that's kind of what I felt when I saw the yoga studio. I never took a class there, and it's a little hard to describe. It's trusting myself, trusting the feeling that I have, and moving forward with it. Just not only listening, trusting, and then acting on it. Right. So that's what I did when it came to the yoga teacher training, and living day to day by this. Before that teacher training, I used to look at Instagram and copy all the yoga poses I saw and trying to, do all of these cool postures and in dangerous places too, balancing on like electrical equipment, thinking it would be a super cool picture. But the more I've been practicing, especially being exposed to the studio, the more I've been practicing it, it's changed how I practice day to day. And I'm learning that it's not about the postures, it's much more than that.
I want to kind of move and shift into how you feel yoga has transformed your life outside of work. Like, so, I know I've shared with Cindy, I recently started a fitness program a few months ago where there's yoga's incorporated into it. Now, I always choose a mat in the back because I feel very insecure. I'm not really able to kind of get into all the flows and sometimes I just roll around and do my own thing, but I always leave that segment of that session always feeling like all the cares of the day have just been kind of brushed aside. I always feel better um, wrapping up that hour session with that 20 minutes of yoga because I know that I'm giving my body, I guess, what it essentially needs, whether that's breath work, laying there, meditating, zoning out, whatever. So I'm kind of curious to hear your perspective on what yoga has brought you personally.
My goodness, that's a wonderful question. um, Yoga, when I don't want it to sound cliche, but yoga did. It did have a major impact on my life and it did change my life, especially breath work when I realized the power and the importance of effective breathing. So before yoga, I engaged in a lot of activities that I probably wouldn't engage in now. Like I spent a lot of time drinking on the weekend, having a lot of time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just something that I noticed I was doing. And so with yoga, outside of the profession itself, it helped me start to like myself and slowly start to love myself and start to trust myself even more. And it's not an easy process. It's something that happens day to day. We're exposed to new challenges every day. So it's learning how can we overcome those challenges? How are we going to respond to those challenges? And that's what yoga has helped me with the most. Also being content. You know, we live in a society where there's so many things that are available to us. So it's easy to get into that mindset of, oh, if I just had this, I would be happy. It has allowed me to learn that it's okay to be where you are and still progress, but still be satisfied with where you are, be content and grateful for where you are. And so, with a yoga practice, regardless of where you are in your practice, there's still going to be progression even while you're being content with where you are. That's short summary.
No, but I think you give a great segue to maybe where we'll shift next, and that is who is yoga for? Who is the right candidate for those who may be listening who are contemplating kicking off with a New Year's resolution soon? And again, I'll share with those listening. I was really intimidated, being like maybe the biggest one in the group, being the least limber in the group, and I'm slowly coming out of that, and I'm noticing some improvements. I'm noticing, that I sleep better and that my flexibility is improving and that, just a general sense of well being. So, kind of wanted to get your input and guidance on who's yoga for and, do you maybe destigmatizing the fears that people might have?
Yoga's for everyone. And I truly do mean that. It's accessible. And what it comes down to is tossing out the expectations that we have with how our practice should look, how our practice should feel, and how we should be in the practice. So once we let go of those expectations and start with where we are, start with where your body is. That's how we can continue to practice and move forward with the yoga. So with yoga, there's so many different ways that we can modify your practice so that you can meet where you are in the practice. So several different styles of hatha yoga. You can choose which style. And I feel like I should back up some. So let me go ahead and do that. Patanjali is considered the father of yoga. And while Patanjali is considered the father of yoga, he did not create yoga. He did, however, create a book that is now known as the Yoga Sutras, and they have 195, 196 small teachings, right? And so in that book has been divided into four books. And in the second book, they provide you with the tools to practice. So the first book talks about the purpose of yoga and why one may want to practice yoga. The second book shares the tools that will support you during your yoga journey. The third book talks about the achievements of a consistent yoga practice. And the fourth one talks about the challenges that a person may endure in life. Because one of the things that Patanjali does not shy away from is the fact that life can be challenging. And yoga is not about always being peaceful, it's not about what's right and what's wrong. It's about finding what's for you, finding your balance and taking life, getting this feedback from life. So, some of the tools that can support a person who might be interested in practicing, the yamas and the niyamas are a great place to start. So, the yamas are the ways that we can interact with people in the world, objects in the world, and even ourselves. It starts with the very first one, the foundation of yogic philosophy, ahimsa, which is nonviolence. Practicing nonviolence towards yourself, items in the world, others. That's a great way that you can have a yoga practice. And that's one of the misconceptions of yoga. Because of how we see it here in the West, we see the mats rolling out, we see the physical postures, the breathing, all of the complex movements. There's more to yoga than that. That's just one way that we can practice. So your yoga practice can look like whatever it is you desire in your life, whatever you would like your practice to look like. If you wanted to practice yoga and not do a single posture, you can absolutely do that. You can practice bhakti yoga. Bhakti is one of the paths to practicing yoga. And bhakti yoga is seeing everyone as a divine or everyone as a image of God. And so this is a great way to help you regulate emotions also. You know, when you're talking to someone and you get frustrated with them, or let's say we're talking about work, right? So maybe you're at a work environment and you and your coworker, you're not seeing eye to eye for whatever reason, or you got into a creative discussion or argument, heated argument, whatever you want to call it. You can practice bhakti yoga and understand that whatever they're going through, it's not personal. And that even though they may have spoken to you with a tone that you do not appreciate, even though they may have said or done something to you that you do not appreciate, you can still see them as a child of God. So many different ways that you can practice yoga, whether you're, like you said earlier, Melissa, working out on the mat. If you want to practice yoga by being kind to others, being mindful of their time, being mindful of your time. That's another way, non-stealing, not comparing yourself to others. So if you see someone in your job and you notice that they are excelling at a quicker rate than you are at that time, that's okay. You know, not comparing yourself and focusing on what it is you can do. So that's another way we cannot steal our time, by not comparing, being mindful. So moderation, mindful of our energy when we're overextending ourselves or even underextending ourselves, letting go of attachments, expectations. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, but there's several different ways how we can practice yoga outside of on the mat.
Many of the qualities that you just expressed, we are obviously doing yoga and we're not even realizing we're doing yoga.
Yes. And that's a conversation I love to have because there are so many people practicing yoga. And if you're not aware of the system itself, you don't know it. You don't know.
No, I mean, I love the way that you put that because I have just had the perspective of yoga in like you described the Western way of you got your mats, you got your breathing, like not even breathing, but the posing and the we're meditating, but we're just breathing in and out, and that's just part of the experience. And it just doesn't it seems like there is a huge component and meaningful piece to every single side or facet of the yoga experience or lifestyle that I just never thought about. And I think, you and I have had conversations before where I'm like, yeah, I totally want to do it. But then it feels like, it's I put it in the same bucket as like going to the gym and running or going to the gym and bicycling. And like it's such a burden for me to do that. That I just toss it aside and I don't think about the other pieces of it that I could incorporate to have a more healthy lifestyle outside of just the physicality of it.
So I'm so glad you said that because so the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali that we were talking about provides a system to how to practice yoga and live a meaningful life. That system of yoga, it's known as the 8 limbs of yoga or also Ashtanga yoga. Nowhere in the 195 Yoga Sutras do they mention anything about getting into a particular posture. Asana, it's about bringing awareness to your posture and making adjustments. Can you make adjustments when you feel discomfort anywhere in your body without someone telling you to do so? And building that strength within your body that can support the prolonged meditation that may happen with seated meditation. And so meditation is yoga. Often when we hear a conversation about meditation, it's separated from yoga. But meditation is one of the eight limbs to yoga. And meditation, it's all about training your mind to cultivate attention or to cultivate awareness. So you are developing your focus with meditation. And this does not mean that you have to sit in a quiet room and meditate. Often I hear, oh, I don't know how to meditate, or oh, meditation is not for me. If you are able to worry about something at your job, outside in your personal life, whatever that is, if you're thinking about something constantly all day long, you have the ability to meditate. It's all about shifting your focus. And so meditation could be sitting in a room. What we see now with the movements and yoga, hatha yoga. So that's one of the paths that you could practice where we see a lot of that movement. Often it's easier to start moving and gaining that discipline with the body first than it is to start with our actions and being kind to ourselves and being mindful of our thoughts and aware, bringing that awareness to our thoughts, which is why I personally believe that the movements are so popular now.
Jalisa, do you practice daily?
I do. My practice daily looks different. It's not always the same, but I do.
Yeah, I
Very
mean, I just
good.
have to say, like, you're so kind all the time.
Oh, you're
Like, I have known you for many, many years. And as we've grown, things, personalities change, everything shifts, but you have just consistently been so kind and so warm. And even now, like, I can see the change from when we were in high school to now. You are just such a like, you no, really, like, I mean, it's one of those things that always I think about, like, maybe I like a motivator. Like, to me, seeing the Instagram posts, seeing not yours specifically, yours are great, but I mean in general, like the society that like get fit, all of that stuff, it's just not a strong enough motivator. But hearing now how your just kindness is connected to the practice y- of yoga, it just makes it so, it makes it a motivator. Like, I want to be as kind as you. I want to be as uplifting and all of that. And I mean, that could also be just you. But it sounds like it's one of those things that many people tend to think about, just shifting a little bit into mental health is, I am this way. Like, I am, not mean, but like, I am this hard person, or I'm this like critical person, or whatever the case. And sometimes I've gotten to that where I'm like, I have to work hard sometimes to be nice, and that feels not great because I want to
Yes.
be nice just in general. Um, but hearing you talk about these other pieces that are components or limbs of yoga that work on that personality and that inner self is just really motivating and uplifting to hear that there's a chance for people like me to be nice.
Absolutely. And it's for everyone. Cindy, you have me over here in awe. But I do want to say that it's a challenge, It, it can be challenging. And that's one of the focus with yoga is separating ourselves from the thoughts that we're having. So looking at the thoughts as an observer and not identifying with them. There have been so many times in my life where I feel angry and so I'm just angry. I'm an angry person right now. Leave me alone. Or, oh, I am. If I did an event and I felt like I did not do my best, oh, I did a horrible job. I am not a presenter whatsoever. The moment that I start to think that and I believe it and identify with it, oh, I am a bad person. Oh, I'm a bad presenter. Oh, I'm an angry person. I am starting to allow something into my life that is not true. We can have these thoughts and not identify with them. I am a angry person. No, I am feeling angry. I'm a bad presenter. No, yesterday I did not do my best. I felt like with presenting. How can I do better? And what yoga has also allowed me to do is, like I mentioned earlier, not constantly view things as good or bad, but instead view it as feedback. So, what is happening in our life? If something happens that is undesired to me, how can I view this feedback and use this feedback for what it is I would like to move forward with?
Don't let Cindy fool you. She's a really nice person. She's really
She
nice.
is.
She
She's
is. She needs
wonderful.
to give herself more credit. More
You're
credit.
amazing.
She is amazing. She is amazing.
I was just
Uh,
fishing for the compliments.
Yeah.
she's amazing. Okay, so with all of this being said, it all sounds great. But if someone feels like I don't have the time, I don't have 30 minutes that I can give myself, how can they sneak even 5, 10 minutes into their workday? They're feeling overwhelmed. They're in meetings back to back, extensive pressure on any given day. How can someone incorporate a simple yoga practice into their workday?
By utilizing one of my favorite tools that is available to everyone, and it is completely free. That tool is your breath. So, tuning into your breath when you feel stressful, when you feel anxious, worried, any emotion that you are feeling, bring awareness to your breath and notice how you're breathing. Notice if you're breathing. Often, when we're stressed, when we're anxious, our breath can speed up. So, or we might even hold it, holding the inhale, holding the exhale. Or maybe we just let in a very little bit of air. It almost looks like we're barely breathing. Bringing attention to your breath. And if you notice that you are barely breathing, you're holding in your inhale, holding in your exhale, breathe, inhale, and exhale. And that is, it sounds like, okay, I'm breathing now, I'm here, I'm alive. But it truly is a powerful tool that is available to everyone. So when we start to get anxious, you might start thinking about something that you should be doing, things that are going to happen in the future. Or you could be thinking about something that happened in the past, what you should have done. I should have did this, or this happened, something went on. When you bring attention to your breath, it automatically brings you back to the present and out of your head. It's one of the most powerful tools that we have available.
I'm a breath holder. I just checked as you were speaking. I was like, what am I? What? And I do a whole. I like breathe in. I hold my breath for like I counted. It was like 3 seconds, and then I just slowly release. I don't know what's wrong with me, but uh,
Nothing is wrong with you. You're human.
but that is there a go-to breathing technique or a go-to pattern? Because I think, like you said, some people who may not be so aware, they're like, "Well, I'm breathing. I'm
Mhm.
alive. Okay, I breath. I breathed. I
A room.
breathed. I've
I I took a
I,
breath.
I
Is
took
there
a breath.
yeah, is there a simple like I have no shame and I think Cindy, I'll put her on the spot, but I mean, is there a simple breathing exercise you could walk us through here right now?
Absolutely. So I can walk us through diaphragmatic breathing. And diaphragmatic breathing is a wonderful breathing technique that allows us to breathe in the most oxygen as opposed to breathing in the chest, which can be a more shallow breath. And so just breathing with the diaphragm can increase your energy, make you feel a little better, provide some mental clarity. So we can walk through that. Okay.
Okay. I'm game, Cindy. Let's do
Oh
it.
yeah, I'm
Let's
ready.
do
I'm
it.
ready.
All right, so first let's just check to see how we're breathing. And so in order to do this, we can use our hands. Take one hand and place it on your near your collarbone. Yeah. And we'll take the other hand so that the thumb falls onto the belly button and the rest of the fingers fall onto the stomach. So let's go ahead and take this moment to notice how we're breathing as we breathe in and out. Breathing in, and notice which hand is moving as you breathe in, and notice which hand is moving as you breathe out. Breathing in and out. Before we get into the diaphragmatic breathing, if you notice while this hand position is wonderful, because if you notice that your top hand is the one that is doing the most movement. Maybe it's a slight movement moving up and down. This lets us know that we're breathing from the chest. This is a shallower breath. And so what we want to do is allow that bottom hand, the one that's on the belly, to start moving. So as we breathe in, we'll keep the top hand still. We breathe in to round the belly. So we push the belly out like a balloon. And as you do this, your hand is going to move away from your belly. And as you exhale, you draw the belly in towards the spine. So the hand goes in towards the spine. So top hand stays still, bottom hand moves. All right. All right, let's go ahead and breathe in. Breathing in through the nose to round the belly like a balloon. Audible exhale, breathing through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose, rounding the belly. Audible exhale, breathing out through the mouth. If you notice your exhale is a little short, you can purse your lips like you're going to blow out a candle. Breathe it in through the nose, round the belly. Audible exhale, blowing out your candle. Breathe in, round the belly, pushing the bottom hand out. Audible exhale, blowing out your candle, drawing the belly in. Let's take a deep breath in together as we breathe in through the nose. Audible exhale. How are you both feeling?
Wow.
I'm ready for a nap. Well, and I realized my microphone wasn't muted. So if anyone's listening,
Get up.
I hope this wasn't X-rated or anything like that. This was just me working on my breath work. That's really good stuff. I mean, Cindy, don't you feel like so relaxed?
I feel lightheaded, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
And
a
I
little
think it's because
lightheaded.
I'm usually not breathing this much. Like I said, like I think I hold my breath during the day, that it felt, when you don't like move or exercise a muscle often, it felt kind of like that's like my, shriveled up lungs were just like, filling up.
I was just going to say that is something that can happen when a person is breathing maybe a shallow breath or holding in their breath often, and you start practicing diaphragmatic breathing, you can feel a little lightheaded because you're increasing the oxygen in the body. You can also get a little thirsty. Sometimes some people may have to use the bathroom. So just going ahead and moving accordingly for yourself, giving yourself permission to make any adjustments.
I mean, it speaks to that it works, right? Like if we immediately, it's almost like sometimes you do things that are like you're supposed to eat this kale and it's gonna be better for you at some point. But here it's like we did our breathing exercise and immediately my body responded. It responded to breathing. It was, either physically or um like I don't know, mentally. I'm spaced out a little. I feel recentered.
No, and I also think that people, there's a lot of like instant gratification in this world. Like even for me, when I step back into this structured program that I'm doing right now, I wanted to feel better on my first night. And instead I went home and said, what the hell was that? Like, what did I do? Like, what was that? And even over the past few weeks, I don't know if I'm noticing anything yet physically when I look in the mirror, but what I'm noticing is the level of stretch that I can get into now. And um, you know, full disclosure, like just the degree of my range of motion. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I look around and people are all in these twisted pretzel positions, and that's okay. I mean, I'm sure they've been doing it for a really long time, but for me, I'm happy that I can I'm happy that I can touch the ground now without using the block or just these little small wins I'm satisfied with.
Absolutely. And that's major. The
Yeah,
You
yeah,
saw the difference in your body, and how does your body feel? Because if you can touch your if you're going deeper in your stretch, something's changed inside.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Now, we usually do this. We do two things towards close out. And is one, having you think about yourself before you started your journey with yoga, w- knowing what you know now and the experiences that you've gone through, what is something that you would say to yourself then? What either to motivate or, the other way, what wise words would you give yourself then?
Great question. What wise words would I give myself? I don't want to be sued. Just do it.
Yeah, you're fine. Not that bad.
Nike, seriously though, just do it. And that can be anything. It's whatever you need in your life at that time that requires balance. If you want to I teach, like I mentioned, as you said in the introduction earlier, the Yoga in the West course. And so I'm teaching that today. Last week when we met, one of the students did not feel like the pratyahara, which is a withdrawal of senses, it's one of the 8 limbs. The pratyahara exercise that we did in class was productive. And so it requires sitting down for 10 minutes and resting. And the question that came to mind is, why is resting not seen as productive? And so I'm going to retract my statement. It wouldn't be just do it. What I would tell myself would be, it's okay. I would tell myself that it's okay and that I am enough to do whatever it is at that time that feels right. You know? So if it's resting, it's okay to rest. I Resting is productive and it will help you continue to work hard on whatever it is you're doing, that moderation, right? And so give yourself permission to do what you need at that time. And also, all of the self-helps or like gurus and going out to different yoga classes, as wonderful as that is, constantly looking out and seeking additional support, as great as that is, at the end of the day we still have to do the work ourselves.
I love that. I mean, I really think it speaks to reiterating what we've talked with other guests on the podcast about, and that's showing yourself that grace, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah. Regardless of what yogic concept you're looking at, you can always come back to the foundation of yoga, which is non-harm. And that compassion, that grace, what you extend to others, are you extending that to yourself?
Especially, coming into so this episode's going to go out right before Thanksgiving. I think that's such a great time to reflect, being thankful for yourself and what you've I think sometimes we can leave that out. We're thankful for kids and husband and friends and our dog walker. Like, we're thankful for everything and anything, but how often are we like, I'm thankful for what I was able to give this year, you know
Absolutely. And the holidays, as you just mentioned, Cindy, they're coming up, and the holidays, they carry a lot of emotion, especially for people who may have lost family members, for people who are currently going through or feel like they do not have what they would like to give to their loved ones, or feel like they do not have loved ones to show or spend time with. There's a lot that goes on during the holidays that people cannot see what other people are going through. And so what you just said, that gratitude, that can help a person when they're going through challenging times like the holidays. What are you thankful for? Naming one to three things that you're grateful for each day.
I mean, today's conversation was just exactly what I needed. And so I want to say thank you for for that wonderful knowledge or wisdom and um those great takeaways.
Oh, thank you so much, Cindy and Melissa, for inviting me onto this show. And for those tuning in, it's such a pleasure to be here with you all today.
Yes, thank you for the gift of your time today. Super powerful. Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
just before we close out, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you? Um, what do you have going on in your life that you would like people to have some eyes on?
Absolutely. Thank you. I do have a business called Namaste with Jay. And with that business, I do work with organizations and companies to create personalized workshops that will meet your company goals. So if anyone is interested in that, whether it is yoga, chair yoga, on the mat, regardless, we can make it work. Breath work, Reiki, sound healing, I am available. And I also have Instagram, Namaste with Jay. You can also reach me on email, info@namastewithjay.com.
Wonderful. Well, you heard it right there. Um, get in touch with Jalisa, and I'm sure she'll be able to definitely get you the tools and resources that you need to incorporate yoga and or the art of yoga into your everyday life.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And if you're not celebrating Thanksgiving, a wonderful Thursday. And as always, just keep interrupting and have an awesome weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.